Hi everybody, this is Madonna from Mad Bees Quilt and Sew, and today I'm here with a quick little tutorial because we have a class this afternoon. And I shouldn't say a class, we're doing an event today for making placemats for Meals on Wheels, and these can be done whether you're here or away, or you can do it anytime. Meals for Wheels will take these placemats whenever you'd like. It just is a nice gesture for somebody who's housebound to get something to brighten up their day. We happen to be doing some holiday ones today, and I am using a panel to do this with. But that doesn't mean you have to use a panel. It can be anything that the finished measurement, and I'm going to say the finished measurement needs to be, but it doesn't need to be perfect, okay? I'm going with a finished size of about 14 by 18, and I'm going to use a 1/4 inch seam to sew this together. I have chosen a poly cotton batting, and I've chosen that because one, of the nice low loft of it, and two, because the poly is going to help the cotton not shrink up so much. But if you just do poly, it's kind of too bouncy, and so when you set things on it, it doesn't kind of sit into it. So it's really nice to have a little bit of cotton in it so that it'll absorb some liquid if something gets spilled on it, but they wash up really nice. So that's what I'm working on today. I am going to use a little bit of a fusible tape on it, and that is because I want to make sure that that opening stays closed while I go around and do my top stitching. So I have chosen to use the Heat and Bond hem fusible. This is a 3/8 inch wide. It was $1.99 at the Good Old W store, but that's what I've chosen to use just to hold that little spot closed for us. And a few of you have followed me before of the way that I sew the opening, and I will demonstrate that today for you. So if you're doing a pieced top, okay, so we can even pretend this is pieced. We just want it to wind up to be about 14 by 18. If it's 14.5 by 18.5, we're good with that. If you happen to be smaller than that, that's okay too. Okay, most of these are going to go on to somebody who's sitting at a tray table. So it just needs to be something to, one, add a little bit of color under their plate. I mean, we're just making happiness here, okay? So don't stress the details. So today I have got 2 pieces of fabric, and it can be Christmas on one side and Halloween on the other side. It can be a sunshine fabric on one side and a fall fabric on the other side. That doesn't matter either, okay? We're looking to just add a little bit of spark to somebody's life. So I am going to layer my piece of batting, my backing, and I'm going to match these up as best as I can. And I will tell you, I'm the one that cut these today. Look at that line. Holy, I guess I need a new blade in my cutter. So I'm going to line these up and just shake them so that they're all nice and even. And then so I've got face up. So I've got batting, fabric face up, and then my quilt top, my quilt sandwich, face down. And I'm going to square all of that off. Now, I would prefer for the ones that I am making to have the opening on the side. Most likely somebody's going to be sitting in front of it just like I am, and so I want these edges to be finished really nicely, okay? So I'm going to start and stop sewing right here on the side. And a little trick that I do for starting and stopping is I mark things with pins. So I'm going to put a couple pins in, and I know any of those people out there who are listening, can you believe I'm putting pins in? But I'm going to put 1 pin and 2 pins, one right next to it. I'm going to leave myself a good hand and put another 2 pins. And that's going to mark where I start and stop. It gives me a really nice reference point. Okay, I'm going to just smooth this out, make sure it looks nice and neat.
How do you determine where you start and stop? Are you just deciding?
I already said that, Deanna.
Oh, good.
I decided to do it on the side because I don't want my open edges here on the top or the bottom. Oh, this way, when they're sitting in front of it, it looks really nice and finished. They're not going to see. No matter what we do, there's always going to be a little bit of a difference where that finished piece gets done. It's just the beast of it. So I'm just going to put a couple more pins on here to just hold this in place. And then I'm going to start sewing. Now I have this little trick that I do when I sew, and it is not my personal technique, but I love to use it, is I like to do a funky little stitch. I like to sew in, turn the corner, and go around. So right here, I'm gonna put my presser foot right next to these pins here. I'm gonna sew in this direction, and then I'm going to turn and come over here, pivot and turn, and then when I get back to here, I'm gonna leave my needle down, turn, and sew off. So I'm kind of making this little bitty turn spot here, okay? So that's what I'm gonna do right now. We got somebody at the door. Okay, so I'm gonna throw this underneath my machine here. I have all of the placemats sitting down and in my lap. I am going to go right next to my pins. I'm using a little bit heavier than 1/4 inch. Most of the time we hear people say a scant 1/4 inch. This time I'm gonna go a little bit heavier because I've gotta go back and top stitch this, and I wanna make sure that I catch all of those edges, okay? So how much is a little bit heavier? It doesn't matter. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and stitch in. So normally I stitch in 4 stitches. I'm gonna stitch in 5, leave my needle down, pick up, turn, and go around. And you can see how I'm just a little bit bigger than that 1/4 inch. So am I right at the 1/2 inch? I'm probably pretty close to that. Leave my needle down and in, pick up, and turn. And I probably should have used a darker thread so TV land could see how I was doing this. I'm gonna go in and just sew right around. And you can see I've got fabric on the outside of where I'm at.
And that's your 1/4 inch foot, you said?
This is my 1/4 inch foot. So I'm heavier than my 1/4 inch.
Yeah, so you can really see how it...
Oh yeah, just make sure that you see your fabric on the outside of it. And I'm right there at the edge there. My top piece of fabric shifted just a little bit. I'm not so worried about it because when I turn this, no one is gonna see that. Spin this around. I wish we had speed photography here. I'd already be done. Oh, the sewer has to be speedy too, huh?
That was impressive though. You didn't even stop for your pen. You just kept on going.
Well, that's why, you know what, I see a lot of people who pin in the other direction where their pin heads are inside, and it makes it way harder to grab them out. How's my speed photography going? Good?
It's going great. Actually, since the tables are kind of connected, the camera goes every time you sew.
Does it? I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Okay, so now I'm coming up to those pins again. So I'm going to sew right to them. So I'm heading right at them. And there I am. I'm right there. My needle is down. I'm going to turn so that all of my fabric is now at the other end. When I did the first end, it was all in my lap. Now it's going the other way, and I'm going to sew off the edge of this fabric. And I just sewed a couple stitches past that. So what that's going to really do is these threads now that are up at the top here will be tucked inside. You're not going to see them. And that's really awesome. The next step that I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and just trim out my corners a little bit. So using my scissors, the normal way that we do it is we take and we just cut off the tip, which helps tremendously. Okay, but if we also go in and we just scoop this out a little bit, it even helps to reduce the bulk more as we do the corner, and it just gives it a nice finish. So I'm just going in and just taking out a little bit more of that corner. Okay, so let me get those 4 corners done. Cut off the tip and scoop. Now, if you're a crazy person like I am, we can also trim out the batting just beyond the stitch line all the way around, but that would be something I'd do before I trim off these corners. It just helps to reduce the bulk when we go to the next step, but it's not a 911. Deanna, who's in charge of sweeping in here today? Can I throw this on the floor?
Sure.
Oh.
It's not you or I, so sure.
I like that answer. I don't know that they'd be thrilled with that.
Probably not.
Actually, I'd be probably the pickiest one. I'd be like, oh my God. So 1, 2, 3, 4 corners trimmed out. Okay. Clean up my mess. Add some more mess. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to take out my 2 pins up here because I don't need those any longer. And I'm going to turn this to the other side, and I'm just going to go through here and turn, pushing out my corners as I go. Okay. So I'm just giving everything a really good push. And look at how nice that corner looks. It is slightly rounded, but I kind of like the softness of that, okay? It doesn't have to be a super crisp, solid line there, okay? We're gonna just reach inside and make sure we press all of this out. Another little tip for you is if you're trying to get this to be out further, if you just kind of fold it back upon itself a little bit and go in there and press this right like this, that'll lay even flatter for you.
Okay, I got about 17.
Yeah, I'm recording.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and press that just a little bit. And see now, when I close this back up, see how nice that gives it a finish there? It really helps to make that lay down super flat and super square. I love it, okay? So I'm gonna go on this side here and do the same thing. Just pull back. And if you reach your hand inside, but see, I did such a good job closing it up today, you can hardly even see. Reach inside, and you've got the batting in there, so that's working as your ironing surface, so I don't make myself crazy about that. I'm just gonna go in there and just give this a little bit of a press. And now, when I open this back up and flatten it up, it looks so professional. Okay, so the next step I'm gonna do, so I do that all the way around. The next thing I'm gonna do is just make sure it looks really nice, which it does. Isn't this great placemat? I'd be thrilled to have this on my table. Okay, I'm moving right over here to my open end. I'm gonna make sure I tuck this in, and I am gonna put a pin in there. And by us sewing that funny little edge on it, it really helps this to close up super nice. So you can see that really looks like it's not even there. I'm gonna put a pin just in the center and press it. And now I am on my pressing surface because I don't have anything underneath it. Okay, so there's that. Pop your pin out, grab a little piece of your heat and bond, and all you need is a strip that's the same size as your opening. So I'm gonna take this out, find the edge of it, and, oh, I got a double piece there. There we go. Oh, look, they gave me a little starter piece. And I'm gonna look and see how long this is. I'm gonna measure from there to there. And this stuff kind of actually like pulls apart, really simple. I'm gonna tuck it inside. You know what, I think this is the wrong kind, Deanna. This is not double fusible.
Oh.
So this is only gonna hold the one edge. That is not what I want. Okay, so we are just gonna top stitch close.
Okay.
Okay. We grabbed the wrong kind at the store today. They actually make a double fusible, guys, and so that's what I should have gotten. And this is just the adhesive just to put a hem in. I didn't think about it until just now. So this is the wrong kind. They do make a double-sided fusible, and that's what I would have used on here. But now I'm just gonna go ahead and I could put 2 pieces.
That's what I was just thinking.
One right side up and one side right side down. Okay, give me a small piece.
We're gonna improvise.
That's right, we're gonna improvise. We're gonna have a make it work moment. So I'm actually gonna press the one in. No, it won't work, Deanna, because it's still not two-sided.
Oh.
Yeah, 2 pieces are just going to stick.
Well,
Love you. You know what? This is why we're real people. Because you know what? A lot of people would cut all this out. You know, we just had to have a brain fart there, okay? So instead, and we were going to sew top stitches anyway, okay? But you just need to be more careful. Is that a word? More careful? Much more careful. There we go. We need to just be much more careful when we're sewing around the outside of this, that we stay shy of our 1/4 of an inch, okay? So I'm very fortunate. On my machine, I actually have an 1/8 inch measurement. The only problem with using the 1/8 inch is sometimes in these corners, it doesn't love us, okay? So we don't need to worry about how close we are in the corners. So we can even use a round. I have in the past taken a 1/4 and actually drawn a round on my placemats or on other things that I need a softer edge, if that makes you feel more comfortable. But we're just gonna go around the edge. So I am gonna start where my opening is. And the reason I'm gonna do that is if I don't get it closed, I only have to unsew that little bit. So if I miss, I didn't do a ton. I'm gonna sew this edge first, I'm gonna look at it, and then continue around. If it didn't catch, then I can go back and make sure that that catches. So I'm gonna pick up my needle, I'm gonna go up underneath here. My machine has an 1/8 of an inch mark on it. Now, the other thing I almost forgot is I'm gonna elongate my stitch to a 3. Okay, so that way it is more of a top stitch. And since we're going through all of these layers on here, that really works well because then we're not pushing too much. Okay, so now I'm right here. I'm just gonna look at this and make sure all of that is closed up, and it is brilliantly closed up. And I'm gonna finish off around my placemat. And see, I'm just rounding that corner. I'm not trying to do a pivot there, I just round it. And we're off.
If a walking foot would work for the top stitching?
Sure, why not? You don't really need one, but sure. It's a placemat. Okay, so the other thing we can do is quilt it a little bit. And I'm gonna do just a couple of lines real quick on here so I can show you what I would do if I was gonna quilt this one. And the only reason we would quilt this a little bit is because we did put batting in it. And with that batting being in there, we want to stabilize it. Any poly cotton typically says that it can be about 8 inches apart. This is too big for that. That doesn't fit our 8-inch criteria. So when I got to my end, I just over sewed. And you can choose to bury your threads or just consider that that's enough of a sewn. I'm okay with doing that just that way. And I'm just gonna nip tight. And now I'm gonna quilt, but I wanna quilt strategically, okay? Because I don't want to be quilting all day here. So I have a couple options. I love these straight lines that are here. So I am going to start here, go up here, come back down here, follow along my stitch line, come up here, go down. I'm going to go here, 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 and where else am I going to go? Maybe I just do a big X across the center. I don't really want to though.
Yeah, the center's so pretty.
It is so pretty. So, do I get to be less than 8 inches? No, I still look like I'm about 10 inches.
What if you went up on the green side, down on the red side? So it's just off a little bit?
And down?
So you have more?
Yep. I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to, actually, I'm going to go right through the cream piece. Now, if you had your walking foot on, you could use your walking foot guide and that would help so that way you could have a nice even measurement. I'm just going to use my sewing machine as my even measurement. So everybody's machine has some spots that you can see that you like. So I'll show you a spot on my machine that I use actually quite a bit. So I came down right through the cream, so you can't even see it, okay? You don't even know I've been there. But on the back side, you just see a dent from where it's at. Okay, I'm going to turn. I'm going to stitch about 15 stitches. And when I come this way, look at, I've got my little tray here that I can measure off of. I'm just going to watch this to keep in the same spot. So right here, I'm not watching my needle. I'm watching right over here on the edge so that I've got a nice even marking.
Oh, because you have markings along the bottom of your...
Right, my tray table.
Nice.
Am I perfect? Absolutely not. So anybody out there who judges doesn't get a placemat from me. And my walking foot would have been a good idea because I do have a little bit of a tuck there. But look at that, looks nice and even. And I really didn't stress too hard on that. I'm sewing right back to where I started so that way I can just over sew this just a little bit. Go right back, do a little back tack. Now I only have one spot where I have a start and stop. So, look at that, looks cute. And when I look at the back, I do look like I'm nice and straight. So, that is our placemat that we're making for Meals on Wheels or whatever other charity you want to give them to. I am sure that most nursing homes would take them or some other organization that's local to you. I hope that you enjoyed watching us today. We have already, I'm seeing people coming in with bags of stuff for our donations today. We should have a really, really great day today. So I hope you've enjoyed making this with me, and ta-da! It's upside down. It's not upside down. Okay, that's a good thing. Everybody have a great day.